Hello and welcome to the latest from Hearts Standard. My name is Joel Sked. I am joined by my colleague James Kearney, and we are going to preview Hearts Midlothian's Edinburgh Derby clash with Hibernian at Easter Road this evening. Before we get on to it, not like we've already spoken. How was your Christmas, James?
Oh, it was lovely. Thank you. I had a lovely time. Ate too much, drank too much, the usual.
That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
And yourself? Did you have a good time as well?
Yeah, it was good. My partner, she got me a putting practice green so we rolled out in the living room, and I have I've barely been off it since. And turns out my missus is a better putter than me, which is which is a great thing to discover as well. So yeah, all good. Well, hope everyone who listens, who subscribes, had a wonderful Christmas, and hopefully it gets so much better this evening when Hearts go to Easter Road. So to kick things off, James, let's just talk about predicted lineups, because they've just gone up on the site just now, what we expect. And again, we are very, very close in terms of what we think the team will be. Myself and yourself, there's every chance that Stephen Naismith will throw 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 curveballs which will stump us. We've agreed, I think, so 10 out of 11 players. We are disagreeing on 1 midfield player. But before we get to that, Graham messaged in on YouTube. Morning, guys. Hope you're well and have had a great Christmas. Thank you, Graham. Hope you too had a wonderful one, your family. Only change I could see tonight is Forrest for Oda. Not sure I would change much else. And I think we have pretty much agreed with Graham here, because both of us have got Alan Forrest as a striker alongside Lauren Shankland.
No, exactly. Yeah. I mean, my thinking was that I think compared to the St Mirren game a few days ago, I think this one will be stylistically probably more similar to something like the Celtic game. I think that there will be opportunities to hit Hibs on the break. I think we know it's a derby. We know that there's going to be that expectation from the home crowd that Hibs go attack, get forward, commit men. And I think that there could be that option to hit Hibs on the break. And I just think, looking around the squad at the moment, I think Alan Forrest is best suited to that. Obviously, his relationship with Shankland goes back years, so they know each other really well. But I think more than that, I think one of the things that I've been quite impressed with Forrest recently is that generally when he's played the ball, he doesn't lose it. And again, I think that amid the chaos and the hustle and bustle of an Edinburgh derby, I think having that kind of cool head at the top end of the park can make a really big difference. It can help the team just to get up the park, attack, break, and get forward. So that was my thinking.
I think one of the reasons I had him in was because I think not that anyone the other guys don't, but I just think he does it particularly well. Is that I think he's quite diligent. He follows instructions really well. So I think Stephen Naismith knows he's like, Alan, you do this, and this, and he will do this, and this. Sometimes, okay, he might not have the end product or the high qualities some Hearts fans want, but he has been this season largely quite effective, and we saw it the last couple of times when he's came off the bench and against Rangers and then against St Mirren there, and compare him to Oda, was he'll get the ball and he'll go forward. He's really direct, and that really helps. That will really help tonight if we do get on the counter. And you saw how well he played in that position against Celtic, and that's why I've kind of opted for him ahead of Oda, ahead of Vargas, ahead of Tagawa, because obviously Liam Boyce, I don't think the way Stephen Naismith's been talking, there's unlikely that Boyce will. It might not be involved, but very unlikely that he'll start. So yeah, that's my big thinking around Forrest. And I mean, we're talking about Forrest. We've not really talked about formation. We both, we should
probably cover that at some point.
we both expect it to go back to kind of like the more traditional 3-5-2, which has been the norm for the last couple of months, and just steer away from what was essentially kind of like a 5-4-1 or 3-4-3 against St Mirren.
Yeah. Again, I think that it's a different kind of game. It's different, I think particularly with St Mirren, they want to try and play the game in central areas largely, particularly when they're defending. They want to try and funnel Hearts infield, and I think that's why we saw that shape change for the St Mirren game. again, I don't think you're going to get that against Hibs. I think Hibs like to play it out, like play the game out wide. You know, obviously they'll be playing in a 4-4-2 that at times is almost a 4-2-4. So there's not going to be that many bodies in midfield. Whereas out wide, that's where they're more likely to have the numbers. So I think that, yeah, I think it'll be a more traditional. I think it'll be that more traditional one we've seen with Benny at number 6 and 2 centre mids ahead of him. Again, gives Hearts at numerical advantage in that area of the park, which is where I'd imagine they're going to want to get the ball. And I think as well, unlike the St Mirren game, where we saw Cochrane and Atkinson playing as almost like inverted wing backs and they were coming in to support the midfield in the middle, I think that rather than that, we're much more likely to see them getting high, getting wide, trying to isolate the Hibs fullbacks and get them into 1v1 situations. So I think that, yeah, I think it'll be more similar to what we've seen in recent weeks. I don't think it'll be the same as St Mirren. And again, I think some of the roles will be a wee bit different. So I guess, again, I think Atkinson and Cochrane were generally getting infield against St Mirren in order to just give Hearts that numerical advantage in the middle. Again, Hearts have already got that for this one. It's going to be out wide, but they're going to have to try and find those numbers. So I think that's what we're probably more likely to see. And I think we're both agreed that it'll be Atkinson and Cochrane, surely, at the wing backs.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so. I think you look at the past 2 games, and I think they have really gone up a level. And it does seem that Stephen Naismith has really kind of asked of them to be really aggressive in how they went out of possession, because you've seen it against Celtic. You wrote about it, and that was shown against St Mirren, just how quickly they went to engage an opponent. Like Cochrane, I think he had, in terms of against St Mirren, the most tackles and interceptions combined. He gave away a number of fouls as well. I've seen a few St Mirren fans talk about that, how many fouls he gave away without getting a booking, but they were all really good fouls where there was it wasn't a bad tackle or anything. It was just kind of blocking someone or stopping someone, and it was one of those where you can accumulate quite a few. And I think
let's not forget it's the same against Celtic as well. Again, he had quite comfortably the most tackles and interceptions of any player in the park. You know, so it's not just like a one-time thing. You know, it's like he's doing it. Like you say, the last couple of games, he really has kind of raised his game, and I think it's to the point now where Cochrane is one of the first teams on the team sheet at the moment. You know, and again, since Atkinson's come back from his injury, again, he's looked really impressive. I think there's that first game back, it was against Rangers, wasn't it, when he looked a wee bit off the pace. But then basically since then, he's been fantastic, and he's just everything you want in that wing back position. Yeah,
and he's been so tireless as well. I think a couple of fans I've seen on social media mentioned how hard he worked against St Mirren, and watching it back, there was times where you mentioned it as well. There was times where he was just pressing. So he was playing right wing back, but he was pressing in like the left forward position. And it was kind of just all over the place. And I do think he likes that, likes having that freedom to move in field. Just sticking on, like you said, the threat of Hibs is down the side. Graham mentions that Hibs' main threats are Boyle and Yuan out wide, so it's important to have players who can help Atkinson and Cochrane. Forrest can do it on the right, Mackay on the left. We don't have Barry Mackay playing, but I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Stephen Naismith basically says just play 1v1 against Yuan, and it'll be Tavares, because Martin Boyle has largely been playing up front recently. They've been without Adam Lafondra, so I'd imagine it'll be Dylan Venti and Martin Boyle through the middle, and then it'll be, I'm guessing, Yart, Tavares, and maybe Eli Yuan. He's been kind of in and out the starting 11, so they're the threats out wide, and that's why I think the back 3, because you can have the full backs, and then you've got 2 centre backs behind them who can come out wide and make sure that can give them support.
Yeah, I think that'll need to be what happens, because I know that, I mean, we touched on this after the Kilmarnock game recently, the one at Rugby Park, when we talked about the fact that, yeah, a lot of the time Cochrane was rushing out to meet Danny Armstrong and basically just not diving in, not committing, and then that allowed the 3 centre halves to kind of hold their shape in the middle for when the ball came in. I think it'll be different this time around. I don't think we're likely to see that. I think it's good. So in those situations, in that situation, it's the wide centre backs. We're staying put and just waiting for the ball to come in so they could clear it. But as you kind of touch on, I think, you look at the guys who are most likely to be playing out wide for Hibs, and they're guys who are brilliant in 1v1 situations. So I think you need to, as well as Cochrane and Atkinson have been playing recently, I do think you need to have that extra insurance behind them, because there will be times where they will get beat just because Yuan yes, he might not be in the best of Formula 1, but he's a wonderful dribbler with the ball at his feet. Obviously Martin Boyle's got that incredible pace, and then if you say, maybe Tavares, again, he's really come onto a game over the last couple of months, really good in these 1v1 situations. So I think that the likes of Rolls, or again, I've got Kingsley at right centre half, I think they're going to have to be getting helped out. Or the other option, of course, is that similar to what we saw against Celtic, is that you ask the two centre mids to do that. Again, against Celtic, it was Denham and Grant, that's right, thank you. And they covered that space really well. Whenever either the wing backs pushed up to attack, they went and covered in behind them. It might be a case of doing that again, but I think that might be a little bit conservative for playing Hibs away, because all of a sudden that's a lot of men you've got back. And
so
Hibs they're not as good as Celtic. They're not the same caliber of side. So that might be a little too cautious.
So yeah, it's interesting because Corbeto Baggio thinks it'll be set up very similar to Celtic Park, flat back five and try and counter. Hibs overcommit in the 4-4-2 they play, so Naismith will look to invite them onto us and hit them on the break.
Good point.
I think so. Absolutely, I think that's spot on. I think that when you look at it, if it's a flat back five, you kind of minimise the space for Boyle to run into, the space for Juan to run into, Tavares, and I'm kind of torn. It's like Hibs, because Hibs play 4-4-2, but times recently he's played almost like Josh Campbell as a second striker, and then he's had Boyle and Tavares on the wings. But I do think that if you kind of negate the space, and like Liam says, they can push up and they can potentially leave space, especially like the midfield. I think the midfield it's not the strongest. It's if you play kind of Dylan Levitt, it can maybe if he gets exposed in a 2-man midfield, I think it can be a bit soft, and I think that Hearts come in the battle. And like you said about the centre midfielders helping out, that's why I think Callum Newnoff will come back in for Barry Mackay. I think it will be a more conservative lineup with a lot more mobility, a lot more thinking about what the team will look like without the ball. And then because Naismith said it, the derbies are just completely frantic in the first 10 minutes. Just and one thing I liked about what he said was after the St Mirren game, he doesn't treat them as any other game. Like you hear managers come out and say, "Oh, derbies every game." He's like, "No, it's different. It's different," and he likes that about it. And then you have Barry Mackay, Alex Lowry, Vargas, Tagawa, Oda, all on the bench as options to change it when it does get a bit more, when the space does open a bit and it calms down. But you have gone for Alex Lowry in the midfield. What's your thinking behind that?
I have, yeah. To be honest, it was a bit of a toss-up between Lowry and Mackay for me in that position. I've opted for Lowry just because I think that he's stood out in that role more than anyone else at times this season. I think that particularly Hibs playing a 2-man midfield, there should be space in there, and I think if you give someone like Alex Lowry a bit of time in the ball, that's when he's at his most dangerous. I think we've seen that already this season, and I would expect them. I think if he can get those little pockets of space, they just kind of over to the left, slightly advanced, he can really start pulling the strings and playing a bit of tempo. And I think that just having that kind of playmaker in there is really important when you're in possession. And then particularly as well, if Hearts are going to be trying to hit Hibs on the counter, someone with like his invention, his range of passing, his vision, that's going to be absolutely crucial to that. I do take the point. No, I think out of possession, I think Neuenhoff probably does offer you more, and it's maybe so there's maybe a weighing up exercise to be done there by Naismith. But I do think though that I think just for the creativity he brings on the ball, he's very forward thinking. And again, I think that there's certain games, like I think of something like Livingston or St Johnstone, where if it's 10 men behind the ball and there's not really much space at all, he can struggle to make much of an impact. That's not going to be the case at Easter Road. It will be a bit more end-to-end. It will be a bit more helter-skelter. And again, Hearts should have the numbers in that area of the park, which should theoretically free up Lowry to make a bit of an impact. So I would really like to see him. But again, if it was Barry Mackay, I wouldn't be particularly upset either. Again, similar sort of thing with that. Easier playmaker, but similar sort of qualities. Again, off the ball, okay, it's maybe not offering quite as much as somebody like Neuenhoff, but I do think that there's enough kind of pace and physicality elsewhere in the team that you could probably accommodate a playmaker type. So yeah, I'd definitely like to see one of those two in there. But I like a creative number 10. What can I say?
I mean, normally I am, but I'm off the mindset of the derby. You just go in, I just win the battles. You just make it. You kind of, I think Hearts are a team who probably would like to battle more. Just generally, and just win your individual battles, win the collective battles, and then when the game kind of settles down or you've got a foothold in it, that's where you bring on other players, and that's why Aidan Denham was one of the, when it came to projecting my lineup, he was one of the first names on teams, because you look at the last 2 games and he's everything that we've been missing, or I just think Hearts fans want to see in a midfielder in their team. He was just everywhere. He carries the ball really. He's carried the ball really well. He's been direct, and it goes back to, if not, this will go up during the winter break. Just when I spoke to Naismith about just how developing players, but he talks about Denham and specifically for the last couple of months, he's been using Denham in training. He's played them at wing back. He's played them. I think he said he might have played them at centre back as well. But he was playing them as a number 10. So he was moving them around positions. So he's getting used to get him used to the different demands of each position, and he's really taken on that kind of all-action midfield role recently, really, really well. Because I thought he'd come in and he'd just be kind of like maybe not quite a number 6, but someone who'll just get the ball and recycle it. That's what he kind of looked like against Rosenborg, but he's really just added a different dimension the last couple of games, especially against St Mirren, and I think he will be crucial in kind of getting up and down and supporting Shankland and Forrest.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, that kind of, that industry that he brings, that energy in midfield, that forward-thinking attitude, these are all things that you would imagine would play, are exactly want from your midfielders in a derby. I think that, yeah, I agree. He was one of the first names on the team sheet for me, just based on his recent performances. And you don't want to put too much pressure on him, because obviously he's still a young guy. He's still, this is his first season as a professional. He's only got a handful of starts under his belt. But at the same time, I think the manner of his performance at Parkhead, the manner of his performance against St Mirren, you're right that it's what Hearts have been crying out for at times this season. It's having that midfielder who is willing to get the ball, drive forward, pose questions, make things awkward, and just who runs constantly for 90 minutes. And I think that there's no, and particularly with Cammy Devlin being out, I think that Denham's the most obvious replacement in that regard. Quite interested to see a midfield of Devlin and Denham in a game like this. Actually, I think that'd be quite good fun. But obviously,
the Bash Brothers.
Yeah, exactly. It'd be a great laugh. It'd just be those two guys just running around kicking everyone for 90 minutes. It'd be great fun. So yeah, no, I think you're right. Denham's been superb. Again, it's going to be another big test for him tonight. But you just can't see him not starting, can you? I mean, he's surely got to start. Yeah. Like you say, what he was doing against St Mirren, what he was doing against Celtic, it's exactly what you need in this kind of game. And looking around the squad, I'm not convinced there's anyone else in the squad that can quite do it, to be frank.
I want to bring it back to defence, because Graham, he mentioned earlier, it's like, the only thing that worries me is Rolls, Kent and Halkett not blazed with pace, so any ball over the top, the ball is going to be a problem. That's where you're probably looking at maybe defending deeper to negate that spacing behind. Yeah. But I actually think Rolls is, I don't think he's that slow. Halkett, when he gets going, I think he can cover ground, but I don't think it's a game for Halkett, because he's just played 90 minutes 4 or 5 days ago, having just come back from long-term injury. And actually, Stephen Kingsley, when you look at one thing that Hibs really like to do is from times I've watched them, if they're working the ball down the right-hand side, they want the opposition winger to come in the field and can join and make it another third striker, or whoever's going to be on the left. They will likely be, I think, they're all right-footed, so then they're going to be coming in field, and then that'll come in onto Stephen Kingsley's stronger foot. So that's why I think Kingsley's the right-sided centre-back. Probably makes sense.
No, I would think so. I mean, just because I think that obviously before his injury at Parkhead, Kingsley was playing brilliantly. I think he was really settling into that right centre-half role and making it his own. I thought he was brilliant. So I think, just on form, I think he deserves to come back into the squad, come back in the team. And that's not to say, I thought Halkett played well against St Mirren, but again, it's like you say, it's like Graham mentions as well. I'm a little bit worried about. I'm not sure if Halkett's got the pace for it. Maybe once he's fully fit, he does. But I mean, I think back to the game at Pittodrie and Aberdeen's winning goal. And again, I remember just watching that and thinking Halkett didn't look fast there, and that was against I can't remember who it was now. No, it was Duke that scored, was it not? Was it not?
No,
no,
it was
Duke.
Duke.
You're right.
Duke ran in and clipped
so
across.
Duke's a very quick player, obviously. Yeah, but Ewan and Boyle and the likes of that aren't exactly a million miles away from that either.
Probably
so
quicker.
That would be my concern, to be honest. I think that I think you're better having. I think your options are you play Halkett in the middle and Kent at right centre half. That protects Halkett, but again, Kent's not particularly fast either. So you've still kind of got the same problem. Or you can put Kent through the back, where he's been Hearts' he's been one of the signings of the season. He's been one of Hearts' most consistent performers. And then if you've got Kingsley at right centre half, he's got that little bit more pace in order to, if Boyle or if Ewan or whoever it is gets in behind, he's got that recovery pace. So yeah, that was my thinking as well. Again, it's like if there's a fully fit and fully up to speed Craig Halkett, it's a much more difficult decision. But I think, just again, I think as good a player as Halkett is, I just think Kingsley's got that extra yard of pace, which when you're playing up against players who are as fast as Hibs forwards, that does make a difference, I think.
Yeah, and kind of Liam mentions that all their goals are against us come from getting behind us. That's why he thinks it'll be a flat back five. And a big thing is, another thing about trying to minimise the space behind the defensive line is that we've seen it with Xander Clark, is that he's hesitant and his decision making off his line when to come to sweep is not the greatest. You look at you contrast the two goals, the goal against Rangers and the goal against Aberdeen. That's there's kind of two instances where he's made the wrong choice and there's been a wee bit of hesitancy. Graham's suggestion has a feeling Sibic might start. Don't know why, but I just get that feel. I think it might just go back to the fact that Sibic is when you look at him compared to the rest of the defenders, he is the quickest in a foot race. So kind of moving on to just more generally, Liam mentions that, so he's talked about Benny Denham in the middle, go long to Shankland or behind for Forrest and Mackay. That way, try suck the life out of the crowd, then grow into the game. Because if the Hibs don't go score early, that'll kind of take their kind of voice away and make it a bit flat. I can see that. I can see it going along to Shankland because I look at Shankland and he's not like he's not like a Kevin Kyle who win flick-ons, but if you hit it long to him correctly, he backs in really well. He's really intelligent, uses his body really well, and especially if he pins whoever's going to be starting with Will Fish, whether it's Rocky Bashiri or Paul Hamlin, Lauren Shankland's going to get the better of them 9 times out of 10. 9.9 times out of 10 is going to get the better of them. I
mean, I don't know why you're saying that. Now you're just asking for trouble, but
I know.
That's not good. That's not great. But no, I agree. I mean, I largely agree. That's one of the most impressive things about Shankland, I think, is his ability to take the ball in under pressure and retain it, whether that be a ball into feet, whether that be a long ball forward. And he certainly has been getting a bit of joy when he kind of drifts out right. I've noticed recently, particularly up at Pittodrie, and certainly the first half anyway. A lot of Hearts' best attacking moves came from long balls up to Shankland when he's drifted right, and then he's managed to hold on to it for long enough for the likes of Atkinson to get up and support, or one of the centre mids to come and help him out as well. So no, I think there's I mean, he's just a brilliant player, Shankland. I mean, you want him on the ball as much as possible, I would argue. And when you do play those long balls forward, he's more than capable of. Like you say, he uses his body so well. He's great at just getting his body between him and the man. And actually, this is probably one of those rare occasions as well where Shankland might actually have the centre backs beat for pace, which doesn't happen very often. I'm just thinking about Hibs' centre halves just now, and they're not especially quick. Like they're not. Don't get me wrong. They're not like. I don't think they're slow either, but it's not as much of a mismatch as it perhaps is in other matches. So again, I think as much as Hibs will be trying to get in behind Hearts and hurt Hearts that way, again, the flip side of that is that they'll probably be pushing players up and the Hearts can do the exact same thing back to them. And again, I think that Hearts, while counter-attacking not really been one of the team's great strengths this season, you look at this match and you go, this is absolutely an opportunity, because most teams aren't playing quite as open against Hearts as Hibs will be. And that does just lead to great opportunities further down the line.
The one thing I would say in terms of the setup is Be interesting to see how the team set up from Hibs goal kicks, because you look at the goal he conceded against St Johnstone. I've seen a few Hibs fans say that that's been coming because they look to build out from the back. That was where I think it was basically Marshall just passed it to Delvin Levitt, who was 6 yards in the 6-yard box, and then Levitt ended up passing it straight to I can't remember the St Mirren player, but St Mirren scored from that. I'll be interested to see. So that's why I think it'll be interesting to see Hearts' approach from Hibs kickoffs, just whether there's like a wee change in shape and they push someone up and kind of try and make it as difficult as possible for the Hibs to play out and look to catch them in and around the Hibs box.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another thing again that looking back to this thing in the first half at Pittodrie, when actually Hearts were really good at pressing whenever because in the first half Aberdeen were trying to slowly build out for the back, there's nice short passes, and Hearts did a brilliant job of keeping them penned in. They're forcing them into mistakes or forcing them into rushing it. Shankland was brilliant. He basically he leads the line, he triggers the press. If he starts running, then you'll see the likes of Denham and Neuenhoff, Lowry, Mackay, whoever it might be. They would end up bombing forward as well to join in and put a lot of pressure on them. So I think that I think it did work. I think that Hearts have actually been pretty good at pressing from the front like that, from like short goal kicks this season. I think that's one of the things they are good at. It's just a question of you need to just make sure that those players are getting forward. And when I would imagine that if Hibs are playing out from the back like that and they are struggling and it's not really working, it's all about then, okay, well, what happens if they do start just hitting it long? Because against Aberdeen, that's where the team fell down, because they started hitting it long. It's like, oh shit, we don't know what we're doing anymore. So they definitely need to be a bit more. I think that'll be fine, but it's more just about if the tactic does switch, if they do start going long, what happens next after that? Yeah,
that's exactly what Liam says there. Winning headers. Winning headers as they go long to beat the press is essential. Will be 30 yards further on the park if they do. If they don't, then obviously you've got all that space to run into. We'll wrap it up there, James. I'll ask you for a prediction, because we'll be back on probably pre-match just to talk about for 10 minutes just to talk about the lineup. But what is your prediction for tonight?
I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for the Heart of Midlothian.
I'm not predicting. I can't. I'm just. I don't want to jinx it. I don't want to say anything I'll regret. So I'll.
Okay, so that means if Hearts lose tonight, it's all my fault then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've set you up for it. So, I'm just looking at Graham's question. Does a win tonight? This is an interesting one from Graham. Does a win tonight turn fan opinion on Naismith for those who are still unconvinced, still not convinced? I'll say masterpiece in a second. What do you think, James?
I think that it probably would. I would imagine. I mean, I don't know. There probably will be some people that won't change their mind come hell or high water. But you look at it and you go, there aren't now. You look at Naismith's kind of time in charge, and you need to look at the things that have. There have been problems, and things like punching up. We talked about that. That's not a problem anymore. They've shown they can do that. Winning on the road again. They've shown they can do that. They're struggling scoring early goals now. They've done that. They're struggling scoring set pieces now. They're doing that. So I guess one of the few areas of improvement where you're still going, Naismith could do a lot better there is the derbies, because played 3, not won any of them, and that's obviously an understandable bone of contention for fans, but. I think if Hearts were to win tonight, it's another away win. It'd be finally showing that they can win in a derby, and at that point, they'd be third. They'd probably have a decent few points cushion. At that point, if you're unhappy, I don't really know why. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, like you said, it's and this is what I was going on to kind of talk about. What Liam says, winning derbies changes the narrative for every manager. I think that's the case, because derbies are so important to Hearts and Hearts fans, and rightly so. And it's just it can buy you so much time, and it can put so much credit in the bank. And you look at, always go back to Robbie Nielsen, his first spell, struggled in the derbies, did so well, and then made the mess. I don't want to go down that route of the Scottish Cup, because it's still a sore subject. But you look at winning tonight, and I just don't. I think it just can't not change opinion, because you look at that's 3 wins. What about 7 wins from the last 9? that
Something like
Naismith's
that, yeah.
had, winning at Celtic Park, showing real progress against St Mirren, winning Easter Road. It's massive, and you look at all the positives or the progress that being made elsewhere, defensively, set pieces, winning away games. It just gets them so much credit in the bank. And if people don't change their opinion after winning the derby, then I think they're still looking for them to still looking to fail. That's the only reasonable thing I can say. But like Liam says, he shuts down all the noise by winning tonight. Lose, and question marks are being asked again. That's the nature of it. Nature. Naismith will understand that as being a Hearts player, Hearts manager. That's what derbies bring. A draw, it just kind of keeps it, kick the can down the road. But then if you win against Ross County, win against Livingston, you're going into the winter break having had a really good response to 2 defeats in a row. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see what tonight brings. Already very, very nervous. And I've seen so many. There's a guy earlier on asking, I think it was Darren, asking any spares for today. The amount of people I've seen on Twitter asking for spares or messaging me asking for spares is ridiculous. So it'll be, I think it'll be a fascinating evening with a very drunk away end.
Absolutely. And here's hoping, come the end of it all, it's a happy, a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year for Heart of Midlothian.
Yeah, please. Right, we'll end it there. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for subscribing. We'll be back this evening with a wee video before the game and then content after, and we'll do a review tomorrow on YouTube, hopefully talking about the Heart of Midlothian win. Until then, see you later. Goodbye.